Well, with us today on the program, the timing could not be any better for today, depending on when you're seeing this interview, in light of some important sports news. We have a really famous author with us today, which is always great. He's done something not entirely different from all of his 40 or 50 books that he's done, but you'll recognize him from a lot of his work in the sports arena. This is, I've really enjoyed this, the Great American Cereal Book, How Breakfast Got Its Crunch. Marty Gitlin, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some time today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, even though this is, I would classify this kind of as a coffee table book, a picture book, which I love, I think I spent more time on this than any novel I've read in the past, 3 months. It's a beautiful production, man. This is really, really nice.
Well, and that was the key to it. Harry Abrams kind of turned breakfast cereal boxes and memorabilia into fine art here with this book, and I think that it's gotten a lot of praise for just its beauty. Even the cover itself, thank God I got the nice hardcover version, which is pretty much the only reason I do the show is to get free books. But even right down to the proof of purchase seal you've got here on the back, which I thought was very cute, reminiscent of the cereal boxes. For anyone, it doesn't matter how old you are, but I think the older you are, the more fun this book is. It is the entire history of cereal, and it has just the most beautiful pictures. You've got a little blurb about each individual type of cereal, when it was, as you put here, first poured, milked until, a lot of them still going, obviously. And you realize that some of these things, they started before 1900. We're still eating them. It's unbelievable. Yeah, shredded wheat was the first one that came out that it still exists. It came out in 1892, and grape nuts was before the turn of the century, and cornflakes was right after that. And I think that people kind of tend to gravitate toward the cereals that were considered to be in their generation, and I'm a baby boomer, and the baby boomer generation really, all the sweet cereals came out all the pre-sweetened cereals came out during that time, starting with Sugar Crisp in 1949, and it was a cereal explosion during that time. But everyone that I talk to, they'll tell me that they particularly like the book to get a further examination of the cereals that they embraced as kids.
Yeah, and you have nice little historical stories about how it started, the first sugary cereal, already then dipped in corn syrup. Yay, way to go, nice and healthy for us all. A good start for every nutritious breakfast for the day. But just flipping through it, man, it's like, oh yeah, there's Mikey, there's the stupid, the Toucan, the Fruit Loops Toucan, and then I remember so many of the boxes, we have an international audience, but in America, you grew up, and I'm 47 now, you grew up with your siblings, and you'd have your cereal, and you'd fight over who could read the box. It's like, shit, go away, I'm reading the box. And it was really important stuff, and you've got all of that in there. But back to the Junior G-men, the FBI badges.
Oh yeah, way back when.
Jam-packed. Do you have any of this stuff? And so were these existing photographs, or were they taken specifically for the book?
Yes, they were taken specifically for the book. We had, we were so lucky too. We found collectors in 2 of them in Battle Creek, Michigan, which of course is the cereal capital of the world.
It is.
And one in Duluth, Minnesota, another one in New Hampshire. We found a couple of photographers, professional photographers who did a great job. We went into these homes of these collectors, and I almost fainted because it seemed like miles and miles of cereal boxes and memorabilia were before me, and I really didn't even know where to start. So we were lucky that the collectors allowed us to stay in their homes for hours and hours and just take pictures of whatever we wanted. And it just turned out perfectly, because we have 350 images of cereal boxes and memorabilia in this book, and they date back to 1897.
And I remember, it's funny because I know, Don Kirshner, a music legend, and you see that Kirshner Records put like the Archies and the cutout records you could cut out of the box and play. And we don't have that anymore. I mean, they're not putting CDs or MP3s in cereal boxes, or did I miss something?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they do that.
It's kind of a shame. It's kind of a lost thing. And I think that, you don't really get any prizes in cereal boxes anymore. And it's really, people ask me what the next generation of cereals are going to be, what's going to happen next, and I really don't know, because
they're really cereal companies aren't coming out with a lot of new cereals anymore. They're coming out with varieties of cereals that have already been on the market. But as far as the Bobby Sherman and the Monkeys and the Archie, yeah, they all had little records on those cereal packages, and I remember it well. I remember playing that Bobby Sherman one. In fact, I'm not a big Bobby Sherman fan anymore, but at all. More of a Beatles and Rolling Stones guy. I'd like to see Let It Bleed on one of these things or something. On a cereal pack, but I don't think we'll ever see that.
But even you devoted an entire chapter to kind of the turnaround where it went from cereals first to the movies, and then actually making the cereal for the movie or for the cartoon characters or whatever it was. And what a great testament to American advertising, American manufacturing, and there's a lot of just great manufacturing here, and American nutrition, really.
Yeah. That whole era started in 1982, and Ralston was a big purveyor of that. What they did was they started tying cereals to movies, games, toys, Superman cereal, Hot Wheels cereal, whatever it might be, and the other companies, just jumped on that. And for about 20 years there, until maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, that's what cereal companies were doing. They were just, and they knew that these cereals weren't going to be out very long. They were like, okay, we'll tie this cereal to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, or whatever, and when the movie's done, the cereal is done. So these cereals lasted 6 months, a year on the market, and then they were gone.
Now, looking at your history as an author, it's interesting because actually, if you have a nice list in here, it's hard to find, of everyone who's been on the Wheaties box, which of course is all sports figures, and then I look at your listing of books on Amazon. There's quite a crossover there between people who've been on the Wheaties box and sports figures or teams that you've written books about. I mean, and I presume in a kind of a similar format.
Well, in fact, I never really made that connection before. I guess I have written about some of the people that have been on Wheaties boxes. But what my career has been, outside of covering the Browns right now, is I write educational books. So the books I have on the market about athletes, and I do a lot of history and social studies as well, but they've been mostly for middle school kids, some for high school kids. So the writing isn't the same. It's toned down a little bit. But I've been a big sports guy my whole life, and so the ability to actually have any kind of sports memorabilia or sports information in my Great American Cereal book was just kind of a bonus.
And because it is very interesting when you see. So here's Arthur Ashe, and Billie Jean King. You've got all the greats who've done these books about him, and then also you actually had a previous, I think in 10 years ago or so, you had a book about cereals, right? A Century of Cereal, I think, or was it? No, it was the.
Oh no! What that was just the. We were kind of just testing that a little bit. We put that out. That's the same exact book. It was just called. The Century of Cereals, Milking That Crazy Cow.
That's it, right.
But it's the same book, it just was without the images. And we were just testing it a little bit to see if people would buy it. And this was before we actually got Harry Abrams to publish the book. So that was just a little bit of an experiment, but it led into Harry Abrams doing the Great American Cereal book, which is 6,000 times better and more fun and colorful than the book that we put together earlier.
But then I also see, the Massacre at Wounded Knee all of a sudden pop up on the list. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, where did this come from?
Yeah, that was the year after. That was the year after Grape Nuts came out. But there's not much connection there.
No, no, not at all.
I'm a big history buff as well, so I've done a lot of history, social studies books for middle school kids, but also for college kids and adults. So the plight of the American Indian is one of my interests, and I enjoyed writing that book, but it was quite sad.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a happy story.
Well, that's one of the things, the Great American Cereal book. One of the reasons I wrote it was because I always associated cereal with fun. Reading the cereal boxes is fun, getting the prizes out is fun, eating the cereal characters are fun. there's not too many morose thoughts go through your mind when Sonny the Cuckoo Bird is saying, "I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs." It's just kind of, and so I try to convey that sense of fun that I have with cereals, and I think a lot of people do in the book, and that's I think that's one of the reasons that the reaction has been so positive.
And it almost begs for a companion DVD. I know you went to a lot of these companies, and you got, they have curators and historians. You want the commercials, you want the, all the stuff that goes along with it. I mean, really, it's just a thought for a project, man. I mean, it would be very cool to see all that again.
How about the Great American Cereal Book, the movie?
Yeah, now you're talking. Yeah.
Battles between Captain Crunch and Tony the Tiger, right?
But also, just all these cool little bits of information. And I do remember, should we have the rabbit, you could vote. Can the rabbit have the tricks, and all of these just great nostalgic things. Now that I have you here, and you being such a sports expert, so just in on the wire today, LA Dodgers sold for $2 billion. I got to get your thoughts on that.
Boy, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it.
I'm a big Cleveland Indians fan. I think they would maybe go for $500 million. So $1 billion. I actually wrote a book. I actually did a history of the Dodgers, of course, when they were in Brooklyn and then in LA. And they're such they've been such a sensational franchise for so long, and they've had such great pitching for so long. They're just known for that. So because of that, they've always been in contention. It never seems like the Dodgers have a lousy team. They're always either pretty good or they're winning their division. But boy, that's an awful lot of money for a sports franchise, and I think that the owner must feel that it was worth the $2 billion to buy them. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it either says that these guys have some amazing plan, or maybe the dollar's just devalued so much, and now we're just this is the number, this is the transaction that really shows it to us. It's one or the other.
Well, I think it's going to help them keep Matt Kemp around for a while, and I think that's what the Dodgers need to do. Is they need to keep Matt Kemp, and they need to develop or trade for better hitting around him for them to be a real serious contender.
Yeah. So Marty, let me ask you, how does a book like this do? I mean, does it sell? Do people like? I'm sure they like it, but what's the market for this?
Well, it's been great so far. It's the #1 book sold in the Americana category on Amazon for 11 weeks now.
Oh, congratulations! Great.
So, I'm afraid to ask exactly how many books we've sold in bookstores and so forth, outside of Amazon. I know it's selling very well there, but I'm afraid to ask because I just don't want to know quite yet. When I get my first royalty check, I guess I'll find out. But I'd rather just not know. It's like a couple that doesn't want to know whether their newborn is going to be a boy or a girl.
Well, and I'll tell you though, the list price I have on this one is $19.95. That's a good deal. That's not expensive at all.
Oh my Lord! Yeah, $19.95 for a 368-page coffee table book, and one with 350 images. You can't beat that, and you just can't beat it. And it's actually a little bit less on Amazon and on some of the online sites. So you can really get a great deal on this book. It's sensational.
So again, it is the Great American Cereal Book, How Breakfast Got Its Crunch. Marty, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and if anyone wants to pick this book up from Amazon, just tap on that blue button if you're watching this in the app, or click on the link down below the video. Thank you so much. Congratulations on this. It's just a beautiful work of art. I love coffee table books, and this one is just about the right size for my smallish coffee table. I got to ask you the obligatory question: what next?
What next? Actually, I'm considering writing a book, the 100 greatest cartoon characters of all time. Yes. How's that great idea?
Perfect. Sounds like a licensing nightmare is what it sounds like.
Bugs Bunny #1 and Homer Simpson #2, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Right. Well, I look forward to it, man. And when it's done, I'd love to have you back on the show.
That would be great. I'd love to be there.
Okay. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Good luck with this, Marty.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that.